Hey guys, Permanent Theory here from The Present Road. So since we got back, we got a lot of questions about overseas visa.
Yeah, a lot.
So today we're gonna talk about overseas travel, tourist visa requirement, and also the mistakes that we made, and what we think is essential
To carry around for all this visa stuff.
Yes. So let's get started. Alright, so usually this is my part. After you decide where you're gonna go, the first thing I usually check is the Wikipedia map. So it just basically show what the requirements, what you need to enter the country, right?
Yeah, it's a very rough overview. Somebody's been nice enough to maintain it, but it's a really good idea, especially when you're doing a long-term travel, to know like, oh, in this region, there's a lot of places I can go to and not have to worry about visas, or in other regions where a lot of places that you do need to worry about. Just really good.
We'll put the link below.
So obviously this is not better, Wikipedia is not better than going to the embassy or the consulate, the website for the country that you're visiting. They will have the most updated information, but this is just a really quick overview so you can get a sense of like, oh, I want to go to South America for 6 months. This is what I'm going to need.
Yeah.
So this brings us to the types of visas. So we're going to go through these really quick. It's not a tutorial on the kinds of visas there are for tourists, but we just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page as us.
Easy one is visa on arrival. So basically you get this visa when you arrive at your destination. Sometimes you may have to pay a fee. What's it called?
It's called a reciprocity fee.
So
just make sure you know how much that fee is and if you can pay with cash or credit card.
Right.
Yeah. The other one is an e-visa, and a lot of countries that used to be on visas before are now allowing you to just apply online just because it's easier. So a place like that is India, and it wasn't too hard to do the e-visa. Same with Cambodia. Cambodia also has a visa and a visa on arrival. The e-visa, of course, is much faster when you're going through immigration. So just check which one's a better option for you.
And then some countries out there requires you to have a visa, period. So like China. So those countries you would actually have to go to their consulate or the embassy and you would have to apply for a visa. Normally it'll take you about a couple days and you would have to give up your passport, right?
Yes. And this was one of the mistakes that we made. We thought we had enough time while we were in South Korea to apply for the visa for China, and it turns out we didn't. Yeah. But thankfully they have a transit visa, so we were still able to visit China, but not for as long as we wanted.
Right. The other mistakes that we made is I misspelled my middle name. So make sure no misspelling.
That was very stressful, but we got through, so we were okay.
Right. Yeah. So a good reference is make sure you use your name, what's on your passport. Yeah,
don't change your name.
Yeah.
So that's a quick recap on the kinds of visas there are, but there are other requirements too that are good to know for pretty much every country.
So before you arrive, make sure that your passport still has 3 to 6 months before it expires. That's really good to know.
Yeah.
And also make sure that you have 3 pages, at least 3 pages that's free. Yeah. Right? They'll check that too.
And double-sided, like a whole page. So it's really 6 if you want to think about it that way. Right. Then you'll be safe. The other thing is, and this one's a little bit more tricky, depending on the country that you're visiting, make sure that you haven't visited a non-friendly country to that country before. And I'll give you an example. For example, in the Middle East, they don't always like it when you have an Israel stamp. Now, when you do visit Israel, they actually now give you a little card so they don't stamp your passport. So it's a little bit easier. But if you're going to be visiting that region, maybe you want to do Israel last, so then you don't have any problems. The same is true for the US. If you're an EU citizen and you visit Iran, you cannot apply through the same channels as you normally would. You have to actually go to the embassy and tell them why you went to Iran. Now, we're US citizens, so we haven't been through this process, but we've heard that it's a different kind of visa. So this is really important. It's really easy to Google, just like, are there any strange requirements for that country that we're going to? So just make sure you do that. Right. It'll make your experience much more pleasant.
Right. And the other thing that we also came across was they'll sometimes ask you the address where you're staying. So basically just give an address to a hotel.
Night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And the last thing that we recommend has to do with vaccinations and medicines. So in some places you are required to have some shots. For example, if you are traveling from Peru to Brazil and you don't have a yellow fever shot and you've stayed longer than 3 days in Peru, I know this is very specific, but it's just an example. Brazil will require you to have a yellow fever shot, even if you didn't visit an area in Peru that has yellow fever.
Right.
So these are like just little things. So just look for, if I'm going to Brazil, are there any special vaccination requirements for Brazil? The other thing that is useful and not required is when you go to malaria-infected areas, you want to be taking the malaria medicine beforehand. So even though this isn't like visa required, you definitely want to look into that if you're going to be looking at the vaccinations too. All right, so then the last bit is our essentials. It's stuff that we think that you should have with you all the time, even if you think you have everything for that visa on arrival or e-visa or whatever. And these are?
Yeah, so we always carry at least 4 copies of passport photos, the same size as your passport. There was many times we were asked for photos.
We didn't even know that we needed them.
Luckily we have 4 of them.
Yeah.
Right, so.
And actually, you might get asked for passport photos in other instances, like in India, when we wanted to get a SIM card, they needed a passport photo.
Right.
So they can be very useful.
Right.
We also carry a printed copy of our passport because sometimes they'll ask for that. And not like all icky looking as your backup passport. This is like the kind of copy that you're going to surrender to somebody else. So these don't take up a lot of room. You can just put it in a folder and be good to go.
Yeah, and also we also carry a clean bills of dollars.
Yeah.
And a certain age and year, right? Because some years they don't accept at all.
Yeah, so try and carry, if at all possible, US dollar bills just because they're readily accepted everywhere. Right. And also try to carry smaller bills, like 20s and 10s. It's a little bit more of a nuisance to get them, but in places where they don't have change, so let's say, for example, the visa is $150 and they don't have change, they're not going to give you change. They're just going to pocket that 50. So why not carry a little bit of change and maybe try and get there. Obviously, a lot of this you can research in advance and you can have the exact currency, but these are just kind of what we carried around and didn't touch unless of, this kind of case.
Right. I think that's it, right?
I think that's it. So we hope that you find these tourist visa requirement guidelines helpful for you. Yeah. If you have any of your own that you want to share, please leave them in the comments below. We'd love to hear. We're always adding to our list. Mm-hmm. And
so and if you like this video, please like. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Yeah, we post every Tuesday travel related tips and tricks on this channel. Yeah. All right, so see you next time. Bye.